Welcome back. Let's have a little tour around and see what's going on. It's been really hot and really dry, and this oak tree obviously takes all the moisture, so I have been doing quite a lot of watering. Things are looking quite good. So remember the lettuces that I planted that were quite weeny, I think pretty much last time. All the covers are off now and they are starting to form heads, which means soon they'll go to seed, so I'll have to harvest these, but these are looking great. So lovely having fresh lettuces. So there's some Lola Rosso, some Marvel of Four Seasons, and some Cos lettuce there. That's really great for Caesar salads because it's really crispy. And then this lettuce, this spinach here, you can see all the way along towards the back. It's all started to go to seed now. I've harvested so much of it. The leaves won't be as nice now, but I'll try and use as much as I can before I replace that with something else. And at the back, right over there, is my celery. Now that likes a lot of water, so I've actually been, I don't know whether you can see if I pan down, I've actually been mulching quite a lot. So I produce my own compost, and I also get a delivery of manure from the neighbouring farm, and you can probably see it a bit better on here actually. It's wonderful stuff. You can see this dark stuff here. It's obviously gone dry because it's been so dry in the garden, but I've just put a layer of about 2 inches of that all across all the beds, just round all the vegetables, and that just helps conserve the moisture a little bit. These are the brassicas. These are doing quite well. So I've got broccoli at the back, some, what have I got? Some cauliflowers and some cabbages. They're doing quite well. This cabbage is looking lovely. It's quite an early one, so hopefully I should be able to harvest that soon. Kohlrabi, you can see there, starting to make its wicked spaceship shape. Absolutely love them for that. Now you can eat those hot or cold, they're really yummy. I like them in salads. And then what have we got here? Some fennel, starting to bulb up. This fennel is called Florence. It's a particularly good one for bulbing, and even if it doesn't bulb, you know, this one's a bit thinner, it's still really good to eat. So just chop it up and use it as you would do with a bulb, but it doesn't really matter so much if it doesn't bulb. Beetroots, these are starting to now separate out. I've been thinning them and eating them. This is golden something. You can see how that's now starting to make some nice bulbs. And then along here I've got some white onions. They're multi-sown, they're starting to fill out now. Onions I'm having a bit of trouble with. Some of them are bolting, the red ones in particular, and that's because it has been so hot here. We're getting really cold nights and kind of cold mornings, a lot of wind, which is drying, and no rain. So apart from having tons of rain in earlier in the year, now we've got none, so of course everything is just being baked. And the onions don't really like that, so I'm trying to keep up with their watering, but they're starting to swell a little bit, as you can see. More onions there, spring onions. The broad beans are looking mighty fine. I took the tips out. If you take the tips out of broad beans, it will just help prevent black fly a little bit, and I don't want these getting too tall. I don't need a massive amount, and what I've got here is absolutely fine. So you can see they're still flowering, and if I pan back a bit, whoops, they're looking super healthy, being pollinated by all the bees in the garden. I'm growing a massive amount of flowers alongside all my veggies, and that just encourages tons and tons of different types of insects to the garden. So as we walk down here, I've got garlic on the left hand side. Now this is interesting because it's very thick, the stem. You can see how thick it is there. But actually, if I put my finger down to feel the bulb is not that big. So I'm hoping that they'll swell. They're looking good, no rust on them at the minute. Just time will tell. Yeah, there's the beans. There's some self-seeded borage, so another thing to attract the pollinators. And then Over here, all my pak choi bolted. So I've left that go to seed and it's being enjoyed by the bees at the minute. There's some courgettes planted underneath and some cucumbers which will grow up this wigwam here. I've got some limnanthes. That noise, by the way, is a cow in the field. Literally frightened me to death. It's a cow. Limnanthes, poached eggplant. If I pan down, hopefully you can see. It's teeming with bees. You can see one bee there in the middle of the picture. Now this is humming. It's lovely to see. Then I've got there this sort of structure that I made. You would have seen this before. This has now got peas, mulched, runner beans and French beans growing up it. At the moment the mulched are leading the race. They're on the right hand side there. The runner beans are on the left hand side at the bottom. They're kind of hidden a little bit, so I'm hoping they're going to be okay. But those mulched are actually storming away. And then in the middle bed, well, we talked about those already, so I don't need to talk about those again. What else have I got? At the back, the bed of limnanthes and borage is absolutely going mad. I've really tried to keep up the watering because it's a lot of it is really close to the oak tree, so I keep it watered quite a lot, probably more than normal, but the results are paying off. I mean, how pretty does that look? It's just absolutely covered. Anyway, I love that. Sweet peas, these are doing well. They smell divine. I've had some of those in the house already. Now, if you pinch off the side shoots of your sweet peas, so for example, let's go down to this one. If you see that's the actual main stem here. If you pinch this side shoot off, you see it's got like a gripper. If you pinch that tendril off from the side, it will actually encourage the plant to go longer, and for some reason it makes the flowers go taller. Down here I've got some really lovely lettuce called Lollo Rosso. That's absolutely gorgeous. Totally untouched by slugs, which is amazing. I think that, to be honest, I think because the beds are dry and it's got this sort of drying manure on, which is kind of quite spiky, maybe they just don't like it, but it's great. These are the French beans that are under here, and hopefully they will take over once the peas have gone. So that's it from the back, all looking super healthy. Oh, this is parsnip from last year. So I have left a couple of parsnips to go to seed. One, the flowers are amazing for the insects, and two, the seeds go in my subscriptions. So the more I can collect from my garden, the better. That's that. And then let's go over here. It's all getting a little bit messy. Got my carrot bed. Now, would you believe that looks as dry as anything, but it has been watered nearly every day. There's some fresh, newly sown carrots there, and obviously some thicker ones at the back. And then the rest of the dahlias that need planting out are there. Then on the sort of propagation bit, I've got some cabbages and some Romanesco and some cauliflowers, a few more flowers to come, amaranth and leonotis, and some phlox. And then courgettes, Swiss chard, a few bits of flowers here, so some alyssum, bergamot, nasturtiums at the back, and then all these are cornflowers and cosmos. I've got some leeks here. These need to be separated out. They're a bit overdue, to be honest. They need to go in the ground. And then I've got a little bunch of sunflowers there. Let's go and have a look at the greenhouse. Oh, these are some brassicas that I sowed in May, and these are ready to go out. You can see how they've gone yellow at the bottom, which means they've kind of finished all the nutrients in the compost they're in, so they need to be planted out, but I don't know if I'll get time to do that today. So onto the greenhouse. Ceranth outside, still rocking it for the bees. I planted a nasturtium in here well, actually no, sorry, I didn't plant in the session. It's self-seeded, so I let it do its thing. It's actually becoming a little bit of a thug. It's obviously loving it in the heat, and it's kind of taking up this whole area, but you know, I'm letting it do its thing in a minute. So these are the tomatoes which you would have seen me plant obviously a while ago. They're now getting pretty jungly, and I'm taking out all the bottom leaves to try and encourage a lot of airflow. It's been quite windy here in Sussex, so actually the airflow's been quite good, even though the temperatures are hot in here. It hasn't been stifling, so these are kicking out a lot of flowers now. I'm hoping that they'll all pollinate, and that's why I've got so many flowers in here as well. So you can see I've got a cerinthe, which is looking a bit bedraggled now, but it's lovely cerinthe here with its gorgeous purple flowers. And then along the bottom I've got alyssum, and towards the back I've got some cosmos, and in between the plants you can see, just poking through in between the tomatoes, lots of marigolds. So yeah, the more flowers I can put in here the better, but obviously I kind of need a lot of space for these tomatoes. So some of these have gone completely mental and have done two huge big thick stems. You can see there how it's split into two big stems. Now usually I would just grow one stem, but this year I'm going to let them have two if they want to have two. So those that have gone nice and thick like that, I'm just letting the two develop and seeing what happens. They are held up with string, so this string gets tied to the top, and that supports the tomatoes, and I can undo the string and wind it round and just make sure they are supported well enough so they don't topple over. But yeah, I'm looking at quite a lot of flowers, so I'm quite pleased. Sometimes the flowers drop off, which means they're not pollinated, so if you blow on them it helps release the pollen. Likewise if you tickle them, so just give it a little give your tomato a little bit of a wiggle, and that kind of mimics what a bee would do effectively, or what a pollinator would do, is just slightly tickle the plant and it releases pollen. They're self-pollinating, so one bit of pollen from one flower can pollinate another one, but you just need to get the airflow going and make sure that you get as much insects in here as possible to help you along. And what else have I got in here? So at the top, just on the little shelf, I've got some Italian basil and some Thai basil there. That needs to go into the ground. Now I'll plant that in between the tomatoes and that will just grow on. And then these tomatoes here are some of my favourites. I just took the side shoots out and propagated them there. Obviously, let's take one down. You can see. So when you do that, when you take the side shoots out, you just put them in water. The side shoots will form some roots at the bottom, and then you can plant them up, and you can see how healthy that looks. And these will be later on, obviously, but that's actually quite useful. So they will be my second round tomatoes. They'll hopefully give me some flowers later on in the year. Tomatoes rather. Then we've got the aubergines. Now these are staying in pots, and they'll stay in the greenhouse for a while until it gets a bit warmer outside. It's probably a bit windy for them at the moment to go out. Actually saying that today, they probably could, but it's a labour of love bringing them in and out because they're so heavy, but they do quite enjoy being outside. So maybe I should actually just do that. Yeah, they're good. They're looking really healthy. They get fed once a week, as do the tomatoes, with some seaweed feed. And then I also make my own comfrey and nettle. Comfrey and, sorry, I was just looking at something there. Comfrey and nettle tea, which I feed as well. At the back, at the bottom, not going great guns, but that's not surprising because they're kind of under this table, are my peppers. So these are sweet peppers. My chilies are in pots. They're dotted in between the tomatoes. Now they are actually not doing too bad. You can see there, if I just point it, you can see there the little flowers coming. They're being fed too, so in time they should produce me some nice peppers. There's some long Marconi and some block peppers called Californian Wonder. You can see the chilies here. This one's Ring of Fire. They have also started producing flowers. These two will stay in pots. They can go outside as well, just whenever The ease of pots is that you can control the watering a bit better. It can sit in tubs of water, and I can move them around wherever I want them. So that's that. It's looking pretty good in here. I have just weeded, so it's looking probably better than it did the other day. And then lastly, I've got this section here, which you would have seen before. It's kind of my pollinator garden. It's a bit of a mess, but a really lovely mess. It's full of roses, annuals, perennials. It's doing really well. Amazingly, the alliums came up this year. I didn't think they would, but you can see how beautiful that is. Look at that. Gorgeous. And then, oh, I might walk you along actually. So, alliums. This is an aster. And then we've got some poppies. I've got some echinaceas. They're due to come. Cornflowers, clematis. Some more borage at the back, and some acrolegias that are just self-seeding. They obviously self-seed everywhere. And then that is my bee hotel. You would have seen that before, but if I show you how amazing it is, can you see all the pollen at the bottom? So this is all solitary bees. They like to nest or put their eggs into very small compartments. So that is full. Can you see how all those tubes are absolutely chock-a-block? So they've sealed them all at the end. Need to get some more, and hopefully I'll be able to show you this. So this is from a company called UK Mason Bees, and it means that you can see actually there's a bee in there. So they basically lay a little egg, and they layer their cocoon with pollen, and the egg hatches and eats all the pollen. But look at how amazing that is. So there's 3 different types of holes for all different types of insects there. And then in this one, this is called a release box. And in here are some leaf cutter bees. They're due to come out soon. So there should be something in there eating its way out. And they'll be hatching soon, so that's quite exciting. Leaf cutters line their nests with leaves, which is like the cutest thing I have ever seen. Right, this is the rose bed. It's getting a bit mental. So I'm thinking in this area here, so obviously we've got the roses there, and then this sort of scrappy bit here. I might put those dahlias that we saw earlier in here, so I might clear this section here and just stack it full of dahlias this year and just see how that goes, because I've basically run out of pots. If we go onto the patio, excuse the mess. These are the dahlias that I've potted up, but you saw how many I had before. I've just got literally about another 20 to plant, and I don't have enough pots for that. So yeah, I'll try and put those in the ground. And then very lastly, this is my outdoor tomato section. I've not grown outdoor tomatoes before. I've always put them inside the greenhouse. These ones I'm giving a go outside. They're looking good at the minute, so time will tell. But I've given them a plant support. They're all in pots. They get fed every week like the others. And so hopefully they'll do just as well. It'll be really interesting anyway. I quite like doing an experiment, see what happens. So I hope you enjoyed the tour. Sorry it was a bit of a long one. And next week I'm off selling roses for a company called Eastcroft Roses, and we're going to Portsmouth to sell some roses at Garden Show. So I won't be doing an update then, but I'll catch you up in a couple of weeks. Thanks for watching.